Fleece accessories and outerwear is what I turn to when there's a chill in the air. Sewing with fleece can be as comforting and enjoyable as wearing the finished item. As not to take away time from a brisk walk or attending a football game or even a stroll at the farmer's market, I'd like to share with you fast and fleecy projects for you to sew. Let's start with less than a yard of fleece fabric, then add some creativity. The result is a comfy scarf with muff-like pockets. Fast and fleecy accessories, that's what's coming up next on Sewing with Nancy.
Sewing with Nancy, TV's longest-airing sewing and quilting program with Nancy Zieman, is made possible by Baby Lock, a complete line of sewing, quilting, and embroidery machines and sergers. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Madeira, specializing in embroidery, quilting, and special effect threads, because creativity is never black and white. Koala Studios, fine sewing furniture custom built in America. Clover, makers of sewing, knitting, quilting, and embroidery products for over 25 years. Experience the Clover difference. Amazing Designs and Class A Needles.
During this mini-series on working with fleece fabrics, choose your favorite traditional fleece like I have here, or velour knit fabrics, or something that has some embossing to it. Doesn't matter, it's knit, it stretches, and it's versatile. Usually 60 inches wide, so for this scarf and muff combination you need 2/3 of a yard of fabric cut into 2 rectangles. The size, 12 inches by 60, 2 12 by 60 inch rectangles. And the corners, as this muff and scarf show, have been shaped, and you can use your favorite way of making a corner, whether it's a coffee cup or a dessert plate or a specialty ruler like I have here. You can, with your rotary cutter, just shape the corners, the short ends of all the corners of your 2 rectangles. Now this muff has pockets in it, as you well know, and you saw Sarah wear the cute muff and how comfy it can be. And to make room for the pockets, measure 4 inches and 10 inches. So we have little 1/4 inch clips to the 4 and 10 inch area that will later be tucked underneath, exactly 1/4 of an inch, and then you top stitch, as on this sample. It's top stitched down. So the pocket is going to happen on each end of the muff on the outside. So you only need the markings on the outside area of the muff. The applique is next. And when working with nap fabrics, the traditional way of working with paperback fusible web has to change slightly because you don't want to press the fabric to flatten the nap. So I'm using double stick fusible web, and it has paper on both sides, has a release paper on both sides. Determine which side peels away and the web sticks to the paper, and on that side trace the elements. Now these appliques pieces are given in the book that accompanies the program, or use your own simple applique style. And then I have another step-by-step to show you that here you would remove the lower release paper, apply the fabric, and then finger press, hand press I guess in this instance, and then you can cut out the shapes along the drawings. There's that second release paper, and you peel away the second release paper and then do the placement. You could pin additional, but I don't really think that's necessary. And then, as you can see here, I'm just straight stitching, edge stitching close to the very edge using a 3.0 stitch length. So you have the edges of the pocket turned under, top stitched, you have your applique put on in place, and then you have your second layer of the scarf that you're going to meet right sides together. Now during this 2-part series, I'll be giving you a variety of ways of finishing edges. So this is just one of them, to use a traditional seam. And the extension after the pockets is what determines the stitch width, which is the seam allowance width, which is about 1/4 of an inch. So you would sew all the way around the corners and down and around, and you'd come along until you get to the opening of the other end of the pocket. And now I'm just going to show you on this pocket, but you would then sew until this pocket. So everything is sewn right sides together between the pocket openings. Then you turn it right side out. Simple as that. Can't get any easier than that. And if you'd like to keep the muff in place, you'd like to keep something in your pockets, then 12 inches from the lower edge, or just about 2 inches above the pocket, do a row of straight stitching. And you have a scarf and muff all in one, made with 2/3 of a yard of fleece and a little creativity. For a quick yet totally warm cover-up, choose your favorite fleece fabric and follow these sewing steps to create a snuggly cape. 2 yards of fabric cut into 3 rectangles, plus an hour or so of sewing will make this next fabulous accessory. This is more than just a scarf or a little cover-up. This covers for warmth at a soccer game, football game, walk in the park. I mentioned 3 rectangles. There's a large rectangle for each the front and the back, cut 30 by 60. The seam is at the shoulder. And the third rectangle is this cowl shape, which I'll modify just slightly to give additional shape to go around the neckline. We'll be having some templates to do the shaping of the neckline so the cowl fits, but an easy project. Work with velour, stretch velour, an embossed knit, a traditional fleece. The choice is yours, so 2 yards of fabric. I mentioned, just as to repeat, it's 30 by 60 for the front as well as the back rectangle, and then for the cowl neck. I have this rectangle in process, but we have a 14.5 by 30-inch length. And the stretch is going across around the neckline, and you can kind of see I've done some shaping, and you'll see that as I fold the long ends together, and then at each end you're going to measure 1 inch and taper to the fold and trim off this little wedge-shaped piece. 1 inch and taper to the fold. Do the same on the opposite side of the cowl piece, and then meet right sides together. And we'll meet the right sides together so that the V shape is in the center, and then stitch or serge along this shape. And here we have another sample where it has been serged. Just made a little serged off the edge and then serge again, or you could simply use a straight stitch. It doesn't matter. Very simple seaming throughout this entire program. Then I'm going to meet the edges together to form a circle. And we have wrong sides meeting. I'll pin along the center back seam and then find the halfway point, which is right here. And then we'll quarter it. I'll quarter it once again, fold it so that the center front and center back meet, and place pin marks at the quarter marks. Pin marking is so valuable when it comes to meeting 2 angles together, 2 shapes together. In this instance, it will be 2 circles. So I have the quarter marks of the cowl marked. Now for the main body of the cape. The samples that I have on my table are half scale as far as this 30 by 60, but the templates are full scale. You'd fold the 30-inch areas together and along the fold, place the template and cut out the back shape. Do the same for the front, cut out the front shape. Then meet right sides together and sew the shoulder seam. Sew or serge the shoulder seams, and you have a lot of fabric. Now I'm working with a velour, and it ravels somewhat. Because of that, we have serged the edges to prevent getting a lot of the fuzz from floating around. But we have this neckline, and then the neckline of the cowl, and I already have clip marks at the side areas, the center, and then the side again. And you meet right sides together and pin the quarter marks. So with a little time spent, you'll have to meet these quarter marks together, and this will take a little time to do so. And then I'll just flip this to the inside and match the remaining quarter mark. And now that I have these quarter marks matched, it's time to do the stitching, putting the 2 fabrics together. I'm using my serger to do this stitching, and just simply meet all these cut edges. You may want to add a few more pins or even machine base this area together, but this is the main design feature of this cape. After sewing the cowl to the body of the jacket, all that's left is to do some finishing of the edges. You have some options here, and the option would be in this instance to fold under 3/4 of an inch or so and top stitch along the edges. Very simple sewing with very dramatic results. Small pieces of fleece fabric are ideal for the quickest of all fleece accessories, texting gloves. There are really only 3 steps: cut, stitch, and then turn. Of all the years I've taught on television, this happens to be the fastest technique I've ever done. Quickest project, you start off with another rectangle of fabric. The grain is 14 inches, 14 by 12. 2 rectangles that size, but before you cut out the rectangles on either end, press in 1 inch and taper to nothing at the opposite end. Short end, press under 1 inch, taper. There are openings for the thumbs, and the thumb openings are marked in the seam at 2 inches and 4.5, 2 and 4.5. And we have marked a generous 1 inch seam allowance, so you'd cut out your shapes using this trapezoid shape and do the markings for the thumb areas down in this area. Then do a basting stitch. Rather than at first leaving an opening for the thumb, just baste a generous 1 inch. And this is maybe too generous for me, because at this point you'd try on your texting glove without the thumb, but just fit it on over your hand to see how it fits. And this I would like just a little bit more room, so I'd probably sew with a lesser seam, maybe a 1/4 of an inch seam, and then stop sewing and leave an opening at the dots where I have the thumb openings. Do a double stitch or a stretch stitch, leaving an opening, and here I've used that same fusible tape that I used earlier when applying the applique. Remove the paper backing, probably the most tricky part, and then press to the right side. You can stitch if you'd like. Turn under a 1/2 inch seam allowance, stitch at the top, at the bottom, and try on your glove. And you have a quick project made with fleece. A high loft fleece pillowcase is warm and cuddly, yet lightweight and easy to care for. These cases make great gifts and also are ideal projects for beginner sewists. The traditional fleece is what I've used. 22 by 60 is the size, and it's folded with a cuff, and we have 3 buttons and buttonholes as closures and some appliques that can be glued or sewn into place. Cut the strip 22 by 60, so that's about 2/3 of a yard. And one edge, this edge has been pinked with a decorative blade so that the edge doesn't have to be finished. To put the buttonholes in, I found the center point of the 22-inch length, and then to space the buttonholes, which I have already sewn into my fabric, I'll just fold the fabric to the center, and in each fold line is where the buttonhole is going to be placed. People sometimes are afraid of buttonholes in fleece. Use a stretch stitch, buttonhole stitch, and here you can see still sewing over water-soluble stabilizer. I can easily put a buttonhole in. Just make sure you have the right buttonhole stitch for knit fabric. Later on you can cut open your buttonholes, but right now to form the size of the pillowcase. Measure from the short end 7 inches and fold back, right sides together, the cuff. Then measure 28 inches, which I have already done, believe it or not. Here we go, 28 inches, and I have it started to fold, and I'll fold up the lower portion of the pillowcase. And then 2 side seams, 2 long side seams are stitched. The beauty of this design of this case, you can make it much smaller. I reduced the size by 2/3 and have this small little case I'm going to use for my camera, and I've stitched the side seams. Same folding principle, first folding down the cuff, then folding up the length of the case, and you turn right side out. And I'm showing you on this small piece because it's easier to turn a smaller piece. You place your pillow inside the case and then flip the top portion over. And with a little encouragement, the corners will be flat. And isn't that a fast way of creating, whether it's fleece or suede back fleece, it works out so well. Now you notice that we have some adornments along the case, and we have used fleece, pre-cut little posies, and you can stitch them on, or you can use, there's even fleece glue that you can apply very gingerly and let it dry 24 hours. Regarding the buttons, I sometimes like to put another piece of fleece, a square fleece on the back to give stability to the button, and cut open your stretch buttonhole, and presto, you have a very quick project to make for a dorm room, a bedroom, or lounging while watching TV. There's something about the silky feel of a satin edge blanket that can calm a tired toddler. Make one or more blankets for a special child in your life. As we all know, one blankie is never enough. Here's how to add the satin edge binding. We get lots of inquiries on how to replace the binding on a blanket or make a new fleece blanket with this wide binding. It's 4 inches wide, folded in half. The edges are finished. There's just like a narrower satin ribbon, and it comes pre-folded. The main technique I'm going to review with you is how to miter the corners so that you don't have bunches of fabric and not knowing how to handle it. It's fairly easy to do. You can use a straight stitch to apply it, or a multi-step zigzag along the edges, but you'll be assured of getting very sharp mitered corners. You can adjoin the beginning of the ribbon and the ending of the ribbon as your choice. I'm just going to show you the corners right now. And I have pinned, starting in the middle of the seam, pinned the binding to the edge of the fabric. And I like to pin kind of parallel, I should say, to the edge of the fabric. And for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to use a straight stitch. Sewing this, stitching, a little bit from the edge. And I'm using contrasting colors of fabric, trim, and especially thread. And as I sew, I'm going to stop sewing at the edge of the fabric, cut the thread. So I'm sewing right off to the very edge. Just quickly cut my threads. And then when I raise the presser foot, I'm going to fold the trim back on itself, exposing the edge of the fabric. Now this is where if you want to take some time, align the satin edge on the back and line the satin edge on the front. This will make certain that your fabric corner will be mitered. Okay, so I'm lining everything up so it's square. Then with a ruler, you're going to draw a 45-inch angle from the corner. So I'm going to line the 45-inch angle and draw this corner. And use a marking pen and line up that 45-degree line. Here we go. And mark. Now I'm not marking to the very tip because you don't want to sew to the very tip. Just leave a 1/4 or maybe even a 1/2 of an inch that hasn't been sewn. And then sew from about 1/2 inch to the corner, and with matching thread you'll maybe stitch it back and then raise the presser foot. And as I bring this to the front to show you, this is how it works. Works back on itself, kind of magic. Keep pulling, and if I had matching thread, you wouldn't see the navy blue thread peeking through. But here I have a perfectly mitered corner. Let me tuck the next raw edge into place, and as I do, you can see that that has been sewn perfectly. Then you'd start to stitch at that corner, and you'd continue to go back. So again, you fold the fabric back on itself and draw that 45-degree angle and stitch. And that's how you add a satin binding on a fleece blanket. what skill for students can tie together the need to learn basic language, math, reading, science, design, and speaking skills? Well, the answer is sewing. Carla Peary is an educator. Carla lives in Lake Forest Park, a suburb of Seattle, and teaches a school program called Let's Do Business. It's taught to 4th and 5th graders. Carla cleverly teaches basic sewing skills as a way to let students polish other academic skills. Carla, welcome to Sewing with Nancy.
Thank you.
And I read about your program called Let's Do Business. I was really surprised it included sewing. And tell us about this program that you've developed.
Well, we were finding that a lot of young students didn't like math or didn't understand why they needed certain skills. They're just too young to know. And we did a project. My daughter is a 4th and 5th grade school teacher, and we did a project and realized that by doing things, the students get to apply what they're learning in school. And we started out by dyeing silk scarves for Mother's Day, and it went from there. We realized that learning all these life skills was something that we could build into the classroom. So here we are 8 years later, and it's now a 14-week program that the students learn about business. We divide the classroom into partnerships of 4 to 6 students each, and they do everything that you would do to start a business. They learn to think like an entrepreneur, they learn about advertising, they have to do a business plan, they have to get, they learn how to write checks. One of our credit card companies in Seattle gives us basic things like that. They get checks and they do everything.
And the product they're selling is something they've made.
Yes, it is. We have a partnership with a Fabric of Life Foundation, which has started a school in Mali, West Africa, in Bamako, the capital. And these young women have previously been beggars, and they go to school for 18 months to learn how to get out of that cycle. And dyeing and stamping fabrics is one way that they do that. By partnering with the Fabric of Life Foundation, they donate these beautiful fabrics to our students to make, and they make pillows.
Yes.
And this is the kit that the students get. We have a whole bunch of them. We throw them out on the floor, and the kids get to choose which pillow kit they want to make.
Sure.
And they use lots of math in order to figure that out. They use lots of different skills to figure out how to run their business.
And it's fascinating when they have made their pillows and they're ready to do their sales pitch and to sell their product. Tell our audience about that, Carla.
Oh, our parent night at the end of the program. Mom and Dad and Grandpa and Grandma and the kids all get to come in, and each of the businesses has their display set up. They've got their advertising, their business cards, their business license, which they've had to get. Their pillows are all on display, and each of the businesses has made a 1-minute commercial for their company. And so they go around and they do those commercials, and then we have the audience gets to go shopping. And
but
for
there's
about
a
10
caveat.
minutes. Yes, there's a caveat. There's only one rule if you go shopping. You cannot buy your child's pillow. And we get groans that, oh no. So they have to listen to the sales, they have to talk to the students and see what's what about the pillows.
So they've learned a skill. They've
Yes.
learned, and 4th and 5th graders, I wouldn't think initially that would be a age group, but it works so well for you.
It works beautifully. The students are excited. They're old enough to have the logic to understand about business, and still young enough to be excited about learning. And not once in the 8 years I've been doing this have I had any of the boys say to me, "Ooh, sewing, that's for girls." They can't wait to get to the sewing part because that's a machine.
Sure, they can drive.
They can drive. And Shinomi America donated 5 brand new sewing machines to our program 4 years ago.
Oh, wonderful. And so then they sell their, they really don't
mock
sell.
sale.
It's a mock sale. Right, they sell the pillows.
Right, they get to keep that original pillow. And some of the students get a chance, we give them the opportunity to make more pillows and sell them for real money to family, friends, or at the art walk at school.
Sure. And then people in Africa, women in Africa have benefited from getting their fabrics being used.
Yes, because if they sell for real money, that money goes right back to the school. We don't touch it, it goes right to the school.
Well, Carla, what a fascinating program. Let's do business with incorporating sewing. Thank you for being such an enthusiastic educator and for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us on Sewing with Nancy for our 2-part series on fast and fleecy accessories. If you'd like more information on this program, To learn about Carla's program, you can go to nancyzeman.com, where all things Sewing with Nancy are housed. You can watch the latest 52 programs online. You can find out about information that ties in with the program. And then, of course, you can click on the Nancy's Corner segment and find out more information about all my interesting guests. Thanks for being with us during this two-part series on fast and fleecy accessories. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.
Nancy has written a fully illustrated book entitled Fast and Fleecy Accessories that includes all the information from this two-part series. It's $14.99 plus shipping and handling. To order the book, call 800-336-8373 or visit our website at sewingwithnancy.com/2521. Order item number BK2521, Fast and Fleecy Accessories, credit card orders only. To pay by check or money order, call the number on the screen for details. Visit Nancy's website at nancyzeman.com to see additional episodes, Nancy's blog, and more. Sewing with Nancy, TV's longest-airing sewing and quilting program with Nancy Zeman, has been brought to you by Baby Lock, Madeira Threads, Koala Studios, Clover, Amazing Designs, and Class A Needles. Closed captioning funding provided by Rowenta. Sewing with Nancy is a co-production of Nancy Zeman Productions and Wisconsin Public Television.